In 1968, a local chanced upon the skeletal remains of a young woman. Forensic limitations of the era left her identity a blank, and for decades, she was known simply as Tent Girl. By the 1990s, a man named Todd Matthews encountered her story and vowed to reclaim her stolen name. Utilizing the dawn of the internet, Todd joined forces with digital investigators to broadcast her plight across the globe. Eventually, the message reached the right eyes. Today, we delve into the tragic life of Barbara Anne Hackman and the amateur detective who cracked a 30-year cold case. It was May 17, 1968, when Wilbur Riddle, a well driller, was scavenging for vintage insulators along U.S. Route 25. As he moved through the thick undergrowth, he stumbled upon a heavy green canvas bundle, tightly bound with cord. Driven by curiosity, Wilbur approached the object and gave it a sharp nudge with his boot to reveal its weight. The shove sent the tarp tumbling 30 feet down a slope, unraveling to expose a human corpse. Terrified, Wilbur rushed to a service station to alert the local authorities. Police secured the perimeter soon after, slicing away the canvas to reveal the grim reality of Wilbur's find. Advanced decay suggested she had been dead for 2 or 3 weeks. She appeared to be a young Caucasian female. Strands of dark hair still clung to her weathered skull. For weeks, detectives hunted for any trace of who she might have been. They scrutinized missing person files and pleaded for tips, but every trail ended in a dead end. Anonymous and forgotten, she was buried in Georgetown Cemetery by 1971 under the grim moniker Tent Girl. A local business provided a stone for her unmarked grave. The marker read, "Tent Girl, discovered May 17, 1968, on Highway 25 North, deceased approximately April 26, age 16 to 19, 5 feet 1 inch tall, 110 pounds, unidentified with reddish-brown hair." The stone even featured a police sketch of the victim's face. Over the years, strangers would frequent the site, leaving tributes for a girl who had no family to weep for her. The case went cold until Todd Matthews intervened. James Todd Matthews entered the world on May 3, 1970, in the town of Livingston, Tennessee. Raised in a stable home, he was a gifted student who completed his education in 1988. He grew up in the shadow of grief, as both his older siblings had died in their infancy. Friends remember Todd as a charismatic and deeply compassionate soul. He possessed a rare tenacity, refusing to abandon any task once he had committed to it, whether creating art or tending his garden. He was a man defined by his devotion to family and craft. Yet, his true legacy lies in his digital crusade for those the world forgot. His obsession took root after he married the daughter of Wilbur Riddle shortly after high school. Wilbur recounted the chilling discovery of that Jane Doe, a young girl discarded like trash in a desolate landscape. The image of that anonymous girl had haunted Wilbur's conscience for over 20 years. Todd later described his initial encounter with the mystery, noting he first heard of her in 1987. It was a chilly night around Halloween, the perfect setting for macabre stories. His wife detailed how her father found a body wrapped in a tent, resting under a nameless headstone. She was just a label, Tent Girl. The injustice of it gripped him. Driven by a need for resolution, Todd began a solitary quest to find the family she had lost. He admitted the search became an instant fixation, an immediate drive to restore her humanity. Using the primitive early web, he scoured digital archives and nascent message boards, hunting for any name that matched the girl in the tarp. He spent hours leafing through physical archives, a grueling process in an era before digital databases and searchable news feeds existed. By 1997, Matthews launched a digital archive dedicated to the Tent Girl enigma, compiling every scrap of evidence to force the world to notice her story. He operated on a singular theory: getting her likeness in front of the right people would finally break the decade-long silence. His investigation led him to the girl's final resting place and into deep conversations with those present at the discovery, including his father-in-law, Wilbur. The older man's recollection shifted away from the official narrative long established by the local press. While reports painted her as a mere child, Wilbur insisted that the woman he saw was clearly more mature. This mystery eventually tightened its grip on Todd, bleeding into his subconscious and haunting his sleep with visions of the nameless victim. What began as a teenage curiosity evolved into a decade-long crusade for justice. He later reflected on that era, noting that his obsession was fracturing his marriage, draining his finances through massive phone bills, and sparking circular arguments over his lack of progress. He questioned, when a passion becomes a pathology, yet he felt a profound duty to continue. Then, the silence finally broke. Late one evening in 1998, while his house was still, Todd discovered a haunting inquiry on a missing persons forum. An Arkansas woman was desperately searching for her sister, who vanished from Lexington, Kentucky, in December 1967. The proximity and timing were too precise to ignore. The family mentioned the missing woman was a young mother at the time she slipped away. She had lived just 15 miles from the discovery site. Recognizing the pattern, Todd reached out with his files on the tent girl. The connection was immediate. The family suspected the Jane Doe was their own, Barbara Anne Hackman, citing a distinct gap in her front teeth as a primary identifier. Her physical stature, the way she wore her hair, and her meticulous nails all mirrored the woman in the tent. Even the scrap of fabric and diaper found at the scene aligned with Barbara's life as a mother to an infant. The puzzle pieces finally fit. Authorities were notified, leading to an exhumation for forensic genetic testing. On April 26, 1998, the mystery was officially solved. Barbara was only 24 when her life ended, leaving behind sisters Rosemary, Jan, and Mary. Her daughter, once a baby, was located in Ohio, now a mother herself, with a life of her own. The husband, George Earl Taylor, a traveling carnival hand, had succumbed to cancer in 1987. Before his death, he claimed Barbara had simply walked out on him for someone else, a story he used to justify never reporting her disappearance to the law. Though no court ever convicted him, investigators in the family remained convinced of his shadow over the crime. When she was finally reinterred in Georgetown, her family ensured Taylor's name was erased from her new headstone. The resolution stunned the community, proving wrong the skeptics who believed the case was destined to stay cold. With the closure of Barbara's case, Todd dedicated his life to those still lost in the system, ensuring the dead were no longer voiceless. He helped pioneer the Doe Network and the EDAN initiative, a collective of specialists who donate their talents to reconstruct the faces of the forgotten. Todd noted that after Barbara's identification, the digital landscape for forensic research was forever altered. He collaborated with advocates globally to build the first comprehensive database for unidentified remains. He realized that his personal quest had actually laid the groundwork for a much larger movement. Those years of struggle weren't in vain. They were the building blocks of a new investigative era. His work fundamentally changed how the internet is used to solve the unsolvable. Suddenly, on January 3, 2024, Todd passed away at his Tennessee home at 53. His legacy survives in every name restored to a grave and every family finally given the truth. These are the documented facts of the case. Share your thoughts on this investigation in the comments. If you value this work, please subscribe for further deep dives. Thank you for joining us. Remain vigilant, and we will see you in the next file. The story of Barbara Anne Hackman and Todd Matthews is more than a true crime archive. It is a profound testament to the unyielding power of human empathy. It teaches us that no soul is ever truly lost as long as someone is willing to remember. The weight of a name. For 30 years, Barbara was stripped of her humanity, reduced to a tragic nickname, Tent Girl. Her story reminds us that every person belongs to someone. Behind every cold case, every Jane Doe, and every unidentified face is a daughter, a mother, and a life full of unfinished chapters. To seek the truth is to restore the dignity that was stolen by silence. The Digital Crusade. Todd Matthews didn't have a badge or a lab. He had a burning sense of justice and a dial-up connection. He proved that curiosity, when fueled by compassion, can bridge the gap between the forgotten past and a hopeful future. In a world often filled with digital noise, his legacy challenges us to use our tools, our screens, our voices, and our reach to become a light for the voiceless.